afternoon. I am Kimberly Perry, the president of Bellingham Technical College, and it's my privilege to kick off today's pinning and graduation ceremony. There's little doubt that our world has changed profoundly in the last several months, from pandemic to protests to extreme weather and so on. This is not the pinning ceremony you had envisioned during your time at Bellingham Technical College. No processional walk, no cheering family members, no walk across the stage, and no congratulatory handshakes or hugs. And of course, no celebratory sheet cake. That is always at the end of every celebration at BTC. As we are all acutely aware, life does not unfold how we may have planned. We are faced with challenges today and will be in the future. Challenges are a given, but being BTC graduates will enable you to face those challenges. Be proud of your accomplishments. It took tenacity, perseverance, and determination to successfully transition from an LPN to an RN. I'm so proud that each of you has decided to continue to pursue your goal of becoming a registered nurse. We desperately need you and your commitment to human health. As you embark on this next chapter of life, I have 3 small tips for you. The first is to experience and interact with the world around you. For me, that means pausing in my morning routine to watch a butterfly or hummingbird take a drink out of the feeders. Giving our Australian Shepherd a tummy rub. In fact, she won't let me get out of bed unless she gets her morning tummy rub. Saving a spider from the sink, or soaking in the physical beauty that is the Pacific Northwest. The last 5 months, it has become even more important to press the pause button, take a deep breath, and simply relax. Number 2, life is all about people. Take a moment to thank the people who supported you in order for you to be here today. Family members, friends, perhaps a BTC employee or 2 or 3. And other people who have supported you. The tapestry of the world is woven by the richness of human diversity. By valuing individual attributes, capabilities, and differences, we all learn and grow, and thereby creating a more vibrant and interesting world that is inclusive of all of us. And number 3, maintain perspective. You probably already know this, but life can be pretty messy. It can be messy good, which usually happens unexpectedly. And of course, it can be messy challenging. It's only by embracing the messiness that we can truly define and refine ourselves. Gene Kranz, the lead flight director of the 1970 Apollo 13 mission, said that when an oxygen failed, which meant return to the Earth was in jeopardy, he said, "With all due respect, I believe that this is going to be our finest hour." And it was. People who have this perspective of viewing challenges as opportunities live a joyful life and continue to push forward in the pursuit of their hopes and their dreams. As you are pronounced a graduate in just a few moments, think about the possibilities that await you. As you contemplate the idea of these possibilities, embrace them, lean into them. It is the unknown and the unexpected that makes life rewarding and challenging, and quite frankly, makes life living, truly living. It's now my pleasure to introduce Dean Julie Sams for her comments.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Kim. So welcome everyone to the graduation pinning ceremony for our summer LPN to RN graduates. My name is Julie Sams, and I'm a graduate of this nursing program, and I'm also the Dean of Nursing and Allied Health here at Bellingham Technical College. We're all here today to celebrate this group of graduating nurses. Generally, in this type of speech, I, as the administrator, would talk about how much these students have learned and how much they've grown over the past year and a half. I might then go on to talk about the looming nursing shortage and how much their newly acquired skills are needed here in our community. I could touch on burnout, strategies to avoid it, and end with something inspiring to launch these students out into the magical world of their career as registered nurses. I'm not going to do any of those things today. COVID-19 and the resulting global pandemic has undeniably changed the healthcare world that these graduate nurses are about to join. What an interesting time to be a new registered nurse. I've had a lot of people ask me if being in the middle of a global pandemic dampens the enthusiasm of people training to be nurses or thinking about nursing as a career. Now, I'm sure there's some of that, but the overwhelming answer is no. This is what we do. We work with sick and vulnerable populations. There's always some risk to us related to that work, a risk that we've learned how to reduce and minimize, but that we can never completely eliminate. Modern nursing evolved from the Crimean War, when our most famous predecessor, Florence Nightingale, went from patient to patient with comfort and caring as her primary tools, and very little in the way of cure. We have a lot more tools now and a lot more technology. Nurses are experts at what they do. That often includes proficiency in equipment, in-depth knowledge of medications and treatments, and attention to pathophysiology and disease process. These things are ever-changing and evolving, and that is as it should be. Healthcare practice should shift with evolving evidence. The emergence of a new virus, like COVID-19, is a reminder that the foundational tools of nursing don't ever really change. As nurses, our fundamental responsibility is to provide care and comfort, even when there is no cure available. Hope, not for the outcome, but that we are not alone, that we are cared for. Nurses are the embodiment of hope. This is particularly true in dark times when we are sick and vulnerable. That light of hope can carry us through. At this moment, in the middle of a global pandemic, the world is in desperate need of hope. Normally, we would all be sitting together in a lovely auditorium, watching our graduates walk across the stage and receive their nursing pins. Those pins are a long tradition and are unique to each school, signifying achievement and marking each student as a graduate nurse, no longer our students, but our peers. Instead, we are at home, watching at a distance, as so many things are right now. To our students, today you are graduating, and soon you will sit for the NCLEX and become registered nurses. This isn't the end of your education. This is just a middle rung on a tall ladder that you will keep climbing for years to come. That ladder of knowledge never ends. Nurses are one of the most trusted professionals by the public. It is because we are superheroes. Now, we don't have super healing powers or super emotional resilience, not any more than anyone else. But what we do have is the superpower of observation, the superpower of asking questions, the superpower of critical thinking, and the superpower of radical compassion. As licensed practical nurses, you all know that becoming a nurse fundamentally changes you. We are not just nurses at work. Nursing is not just a career. Being a nurse is part of who you are. There is much work to be done, and we are in desperate need of hope and light. Your care will be a gift to our community and the world. Thank you. Now I would like to recognize our fantastic faculty group who have all contributed to the educational path for these graduates. And, of course, our amazing staff who keep the wheels on the bus and keep us moving forward. And now I'd like to introduce our faculty speaker, Tom Carson. Take it away, Tom.
Well, first, let me find my unmute button on my computer. There we go. Thumbs up. I hope everybody can hear me. I will assume somebody will text me if they hear differently. Hello and greetings from Redmond, Oregon. We have just completed 53 days as camp hosts at Lawson Volcanic National Park in Northern California and in parts of Oregon. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you today. I was honored that I might be able to offer some words of wisdom as you now move forward with your RN. I was asked if I would be a guest speaker today. My first thought was, guest? What? I am faculty at BTC. Did something happen this summer that now I am considered a guest? Did I take too many days off? No, it is because I am a guest to you and your colleagues. I have not had the pleasure of being more involved with this class, but rest assured I am no less proud of your accomplishments. I would also like to thank each of my colleagues and support staff that have tirelessly worked behind the scenes to continue to offer quality hybrid nursing education. No small feat. I've been given some thought as to what I wanted to say this afternoon. My father passed away this summer at the age of 91. It's hard to believe that his third son, me, is only 30. He was surrounded by his loving family and knew of our love for him. Bless hospice nurses and staff. One way for me to pay homage to my dad is to recognize at least one trait that he passed on to me. That is planning, organization, and making checklists. My children will tell you of my love of a good labelman. Anyway, true to checklist form, this chat is in 4 parts. Part 1. Congratulations to each of you for reaching this nursing milestone. You're to be commended for completing your initial LPN training, working as an LPN, and then deciding to pursue your RN. What is, I think, unique about you, the returning student, is that you know how much hard work you are going to have to put in. You know the sacrifices that you will need to make to further your education. And somehow you convinced yourself and those around you to undertake this endeavor. Some supporters have already seen you complete their LPN. Did they try to talk you out of your RN? And then COVID came along. Really, how much more stressful can nursing school be? Part 2. Let it go. Humans will do interesting things. One thing I have learned as a camp host is you can do your very best with the most laudable of intentions, and yet your teaching and advices will be ignored. We provided countless visitor pamphlets to campers this summer and provided a consistent message about dogs or bikes not permitted on the trails in a national park. Despite this, what did we find? Yep, you guessed it, bikes and dogs on the trail. The analogy is that despite your discharge instructions, sometimes now called aftercare instructions, patients and family members will ignore your information and your advice. The challenge will be to discern between the 2 groups, those that are deliberately ignoring the information, quote unquote, because I know better, or quote, cousin Vinny is taking class and disagrees with you, quote, and those that truly do not understand the information that you are providing. For the first group of patients, those that ignore our sage advice, I want to offer some professional advice. What will your response be to the 150th person that ignores your discharge instructions? The patient who becomes or is a frequent flyer, the diabetic teenager admitted once again with a hyperosmolar crisis. The challenge for you will not to let it build up and have a cumulative response to the next client that doesn't do what we say. It is in those moments of professional distress that 2 things can occur. Prejudice, otherwise known as prejudging. I know that a certain group of people never do such and such. And 2, it will lead to burnout. Why do I hate my job? Because I say the same thing over and over. So my advice to you, as others have talked about earlier, practice self-care. It is the second group, the group that does not really understand, that I want to focus on. Part 2, subtext A. As medical professions, we speak this other language. We have this high degree of expectation that our patients will understand, so much so that we are shocked or surprised that they don't understand. After all, it is their body. Why don't they understand? It's really a story about 2 people, you and your patient. What nursing degree do your patients have? You worked really hard to be here and have taken many classes, prerequisites, and now your required courses of study. How many countless hours have you poured over A&P books, chemistry books, and now NCLEX and nursing resources? You have studied the language of our profession. Your patients have not. We know big words: asymptomatic, supraventricular, idiopathic, biventricular. We know fancy acronyms: PTCA, CABG, CHF, PCA, SBA, PTT. We are adept mostly at double naming medications: Lasix versus furosemide, Tylenol versus acetaminophen. Who else names things twice with no apparent connection between the two names? We are familiar again, mostly, with sound-alike medications: epinephrine versus ephedrine, Klonopin versus clonidine. We have anguished over medication administration measurements. While the US uses the imperial or customary units of measure, we do our liquid measurements with the metric system: cubic centimeters versus millimeter. And we are familiar with the language of prescriptions: BID, QID, take with meals, don't eat with spinach, and once per day. And did you know that in the Spanish language, ONCE means 11? How do our patients get confused? And in conversing with our patients, we take liberties with our choices of words, falsely assuming that they will understand our language. Did you take your DIG today? How is your PTT? Are you still taking your statin today? And we willingly accept their nodding of their heads and the affirmation as understanding versus their desire to leave because they are scared mostly of not understanding what we are saying. You truly have to meet your client and your patient where they are. It is not just a simple request, rather an imperative of the nursing profession. Misunderstood discharge instructions are in fact no instructions at all. To be truly effective at this, educating your patient will take both time and effort on your part to accomplish. Part 3. While camp hosting this summer, we met one of the law enforcement officers, and he was sharing with us that not only do they provide law enforcement, they're also first responders as well. At this particular national park, the officers started their day at 6 in the morning and ended around 9 p.m. Here is an actual conversation. Law enforcement officer to us. Usually when we have an OB situation late in the day, we find that it can wait till the morning for us to take care of it. We were stunned. Turns out in their lingo, OB means an out of bounds camper. They were using a different dictionary. Part 4. This last section speaks about your involvement, both personal and professional. I would like to acknowledge all the lives being lost to our continued prejudice, racism, and systemic inequalities. There are so many ways in which our communities need our engagement today. Sadly, there remains such a great need to advocate for others and for ourselves. I feel like this country has uncovered evidence of a huge cataclysmic earthquake that has shattered our very foundations. I implore you to be involved at whatever level and whatever capacity you can. And don't forget to vote. So I leave you with this. It's a parable. Once upon a time, there was an old man who used to go to the ocean and do his writing. He had a habit of walking on the beach every morning and began his work. Early one morning, he was walking along after a big storm had passed and found the vast beach littered with starfish as far as the eye could see, stretching in both directions. Off in the distance, the old man noticed a small boy approaching. As the boy walked, he paused every so often, and as he grew closer, the man could see occasionally bending down to pick up an object and throw it into the sea. The boy came closer still, and the man called out, "Good morning. May I ask what you are doing?" The young boy paused, looked up, and replied, "Throwing starfish into the ocean. The tide has washed them up onto the beach, and they can't return to the sea by themselves." The youth replied, "When the sun gets high, they will die unless I throw them back into the water." The old man replied, "But there must be tens of thousands of starfish on this beach. I'm afraid you won't really be able to make much of a difference." The boy bent down, picked up yet another starfish, and threw it as far as he could into the ocean. Then he turned and smiled and said, "I made a difference to that one." Again, congratulations to each of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. That was absolutely fantastic. Now, I'm proud to introduce our student speaker, Lyesa Hamar.
Good evening, fellow graduates, faculty, friends, and family. My name is Lyesa Hamar, and I am humbled and honored to be chosen to commemorate the accomplishments of our great class. I am overcome with emotion when I think about how far we've come, individually and as a group. Some of my classmates had been on the waiting list for years before receiving acceptance letters to be part of Bellingham Tech's very first part-time LPN to RN cohort. My own journey at BTC started 14 years ago, first with LPN prerequisites in 2007 and graduating as a practical nurse in 2011. I came back to Bellingham Tech in 2017 to start the prerequisites for the RN program and was surprised to see just how far our little campus that could had come. But no matter how long it's taken, on graduation night 2020, my classmates and I can count ourselves among those who can say we made it. RN or bus, baby, and here we are, NCLEX candidates. Someone asked me once if the part-time program was more laid back than the full-time program. I could use a lot of words to describe this program, but laid back is not one of them. I think it's fair to say that despite years of waiting and anticipating, none of us could ever have truly been prepared for what nursing school had in store for us. When we arrived on campus that first day of our program, we were complete strangers, wondering what in the world we'd gotten ourselves into. There was a different instructor for every module, lots of new platforms, writing research papers, so much reading, and so many test questions, complicated dose calculations, and the constant battle between the NCLEX world and our real-world experience. You see, our cohort has the added advantage of being working LPNs. Some of my classmates have been on the front line since the beginning of this pandemic and way before. Throughout the duration of this program, tonight's graduates were wives, mothers, daughters, sisters, caregivers for family members in crisis. We're 19 extraordinary women, and we have endured seemingly insurmountable obstacles. We recognize tonight as graduate RNs. Some of us cut it pretty close in that first quarter. Some of us cut our hair. Before this program, I had long braided hair. Then one night, making flashcards while studying for an exam, somewhere between increased intracranial pressure and seizures, I used my treatment scissors to give myself one of those upside-down ponytail haircuts like you see on Facebook. I called it the 0.17 because that's how many points away from failing out of this program I was. If I'd gotten one fewer point on that final exam, I wouldn't be speaking to you tonight. That first quarter was really the first time I'd ever considered what I would do if I wasn't a nurse. Waitressing at Denny's, because clearly hairdressing is not my calling. With the second quarter came our first lab evaluation and summer clinicals at St. Joe's Hospital. Thanks to Tom, who gave me a second chance when I got frustrated and cussed out my IV pump. And to Kate, who encouraged us to push beyond our comfort measures and taught us not to give up when things challenge us in ways we never thought possible. Third quarter brought us back to campus for reproduction and all the different partums and newborn care, which is a lot harder now because we have 2 patients instead of 1. But Diana was marvelous. She was fun and engaging and made a mountain of coursework material seem manageable. She introduced our class to the group Google Doc, and we have never looked back. During fourth quarter, we welcomed our new instructor, Tiffany Court, with classmate Jilly demonstrating what we learned by simulating childbirth in the lab. Jilly's going to get to do it for real in November when we welcome the first baby to be born to our class. Ellie Jade is going to have 18 RN aunties just waiting to encourage and inspire her as the next generation of future nurses. Our cohort had barely finished our fourth quarter clinicals at St. Joe's when life got put on hold for this little virus called COVID. We were relieved to have completed the required clinical hours because other cohorts were not as fortunate. Still, we worried about what all this meant for our upcoming preceptorship placements and the looming possibility of a delayed graduation. Zoom came into our lives during the 5th quarter, and I can only say it was not an easy transition to an all-virtual format. Our cohort had its share of growing pains, but we couldn't have asked for a better, more receptive team of instructors. Through it all, Julie and Tiffany kept us informed and helped us navigate through all the rapid-fire changes. They were always willing to listen to our concerns, consider our unique working woman perspectives, and help build bridges. Our cohort can be proud of our legacy at Bellingham Tech and the positive impact we have made for a future LPN to RN program students. In Holly's class, we learned about nursing innovation and how on an average day a nurse makes 28 different workarounds because things just aren't working the way they should. The expression flying the plane while we're still building it really resonated with me because that is the epitome of how it felt being part of this pilot program. That was never more true than with the introduction of distance learning. This 6th and final quarter found us working 120 preceptorship hours. The majority of my classmates were at St. Joe's Hospital. I give a shout out to the fabulous and knowledgeable RNs at the Wound Healing Center who shared with me all their wound healing magic this summer. Now I want to end this speech with tons of gratitude. Everyone knows it takes a village to raise a nursing student, and the list of people we need to thank is so long. So everyone listening right now, thank you. You would not be here unless you had invested in a very fine RN graduate. To everyone who stood by and supported us, all of our family, our friends, our various supporters who've been with us every step of the way. All of you are part of our success through this crazy journey. Every one of you here tonight is a reason we never gave up. To our instructors and BTC faculty, your hard work brought us to this very moment. Thank you for always believing in us, for challenging us and motivating us to succeed. I couldn't feel more lucky to have gone on this journey with this amazing group of women. Tonight's graduates are trailblazers and leaders into the future of nursing care. I look forward to seeing what the universe has in store for each and every one of these incredible ladies. Congratulations, classmates, and happy graduation day. We made it. Now let's go eat up that anklets. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. We are so proud of you and of your entire team. Next, I would like to introduce Tiffany Port. She will be reading off the graduates' names.
Hi, everybody. As you know, my name is Tiffany Port, and I've had the opportunity to teach those 19 young, amazing women for 2 quarters. I would like to say congratulations for a job well done. And for some of you, this process has taken over 20 years to complete, and for others, it has taken only 4. No matter how many years it took you to get here, you did it. Now let's get on to the graduates. Tracy Bertram. Tracy completed her preceptorship in the emergency department and would like to pursue her career as an ER nurse. Cara Bonema. Cara, look at your fur babies. They're so cute. She plans to continue working in the Anacortes area and serve her community. Jessica Christensen. She plans to move and pursue her career in critical care nursing. Tracy Clark. She plans to stay at her current employer to serve her community. Becky Connor. She is planning to stay at a hospice where she currently works and will continue to serve her community there. Melissa Dixon would like to pursue a career in critical care or pediatrics. No matter what she decides to do, she will make a great nurse. Ahava Goldman completed her preceptorship in the emergency department and would like to apply for the new grad program in the ED. Lyesa Hamar will be serving her community by being a MDS coordinator in Bremerton. Jenny Hayes wins the slides with the most pictures on one picture of her lovely family. She plans to stay with her current employer to serve her community. Sarah Hill plans to stay in the Anacortes area to serve her community. Jilly Johnson would like to work in labor and delivery when she becomes an RN. Lindsay Lamphere plans to stay in the Anacortes area to serve her community. Quinn is planning to stay at her current employer to serve her community. Gwen Langstrat receives the award for the most pictures submitted for the slideshow. Gwen loves her grandchildren and plans to stay at her current employer to serve the community. April McCoy is open for any opportunity that comes her way. Chelsea Reed completed her preceptorship in pediatrics this summer and would like to pursue her career in pediatrics. Lindy Sheehan, look at your little cutie patootie there. Lindy will continue to serve the community by working at the hospice house. Gwen Spady loves her grandchildren, and her husband makes amazing burgers, hot dogs, and mac and cheese. It is amazing what you learn via Zoom. Gwen plans to stay with her current employer to serve her community. And last but certainly not least, Natasha Wolcher. She completed her preceptorship in the emergency department and would like to pursue a career as an ER nurse. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Perry, the president of Bellingham Technical College. Congratulations to the graduating class of BTC's nursing program. Students, please rise and grab your tassels, which should be on your right side. Now wait till I'm finished. Then I'll tell you when to move your tassel from the right to the left, which signifies that you are a graduate. Students, I have the honor as president of Bellingham Technical College, under the authority vested in me by the State Board for Community and Technical Colleges and the Board of Trustees of Bellingham Technical College, to confer upon each of you an Associate in Nursing, Direct Transfer Agreement, Major-Related Program. You are now officially graduated, and move your tassels from the right to the left. Congratulations, graduates.